Hey everybody, Glenn from Third Millennium. Special video for you today. We're going to finally do an installation of our Marco Airhorn kit into the first generation Miata. Why has it taken us so long to do this? It's just how it had worked out with getting a suitable car. We have a 1990. One of our cars is currently disassembled, undergoing some engine and restoration work. And so what we did, and it's going to be a special guest for us today, we're going to go visit Brandon Bishop of Bishop's Vintage Car Stereo Repair. This is the guy, if you want to keep the original radio in your Miata stock, certainly going to upgrade the speakers. They've usually deteriorated, and that's what we do. But what Brandon does, he can take your old original factory radio, he can completely restore it, and he even does refinishing of the buttons, the lettering on the faceplate and everything. I mean, it's really some amazing work. We'll have all of the contact information down in the description of this video, so you can check that out. And the other thing that he does that's really cool, and he'll tell you about it in a minute when we get over there, is he is able to put a Bluetooth module into the radio so that you can couple your phone or an iPod with your music directly into your radio instead of using one of those FM adapters or cassette adapters, which are definitely lo-fi solutions. So we're going to go visit Brandon. He's got a beautiful 94. He's actually up in New Hampshire and services, I know, all of the United States and Canada, I think, for radio rebuilds. So what we're going to do is get our tools, get the Marco Airhorn kit, jump in our truck, ride up to New Hampshire, and get connected with Brandon. All right, I'm here with Brandon Bishop of Bishop Vintage Car Audio Repair, and we're going to work on putting a horn into his beautiful Miata. What year did you say this was?
94.
94 Miata, which is in mint condition. So we're going to do the air horn kit. But before we do that, I wanted to let Brandon tell you a little bit about the Miata audio service that he does. Go ahead, Brandon.
So I specialize in first, second, and early third generation Miata stereo repair and also Bluetooth modifications. I've worked on almost every model so far, and I quite enjoy doing it. So if that's something that you're interested in, you can reach out to me and we'll provide the info later in the video.
Yeah, I'll get all the info down at the bottom of the video. And tell people again about the Bluetooth, because I think a lot of people don't understand that. If they want to keep the car original and keep the original radio, you can actually mod that radio for them so that they can use, connect their phone and use modern Bluetooth devices, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
The Bluetooth modifications that I offer essentially allow the stereo to work as a Bluetooth speaker. So when you get into the car, you can pair your phone to it, and it's a one-way device, so it doesn't handle phone calls, but it does provide a clean audio source from your phone that cannot be matched by an FM transmitter or even a cassette adapter.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. I've got every CD I own ripped onto my phone, and that's my library I take with me every place I go. So, that's really awesome. So, great. Thank you for that. We're going to set up the tripod, and again, we're going to put in our air horn kit. This stock horn, right?
Yes.
Stock horn. We got to do something first, though. We got to do a test, a before and after test.
Absolutely.
So, go ahead, give us a test. Okay, that's the original horn in this. And just quickly, Brandon, tell me the story you just did about the problem you had with this original horn back when you had got the car.
Yes, so I had owned the car about 1 week, and I was pulling out of a parking spot, and a woman was coming towards me. She was backing into me in the driver's door in a large Cadillac Escalade. And no matter how much I hit the horn, she did not hear me. She wouldn't stop. And she was within inches of destroying my door that I had just bought. And It wasn't until Glenn reached out to me that I had remembered that story and how this air horn might actually have prevented that from getting much worse.
Yeah, it's a common thing in these cars is the horn, and it's actually all of these Mazda vehicles. It's just a little diaphragm horn, and basically when you lean on it, people just kind of laugh, or they don't even hear it. So that's not going to be the case with this Marco horn. So I'll get the camera set up on the tripod, and we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, so let's talk about what's actually in the kit. This is the way you'll receive it here, and there's a packet of hardware in here. It's going to be marked N, A, B, C, or D. It's the same horn for all years. The only difference is the mounting hardware and the wiring is a little bit different. So we've got you covered from 1990 all the way up through 2026. Not sure about 2027 yet. Haven't worked with one of those. So there is in here a really nice printed manual that pretty proud of it. We actually include color pictures, show you how to do everything, and so it's going to be following along pretty close what we're doing in this video, where we're preparing the horn, removing the old horn, installing the new one, and then doing a test. So we have that. The horn itself is made by Marco of Italy. We used to use the Stebel horns. They had quality control problems because they shifted their production out of Italy over to Asia, and the quality just went downhill. The thing that's cool about these horns is the compressor is built into the horn body so that there's no tubing or any of that nonsense you got to run. The whole thing simply bolts into place, and on our first generation car, what we're going to do is we're going to take off this blanking panel. It's in the front if you have one of these. You remove this by undoing these fasteners. The stock horn is over here. We're going to mount this horn over here. There's a little hole already in place. We're going to use that. And in the kit that we have here with the hardware, we've got a big billet aluminum mounting bar, ground wire, and we've got a square head bolt for mounting the horn to the bracket, and then there's another bolt, a couple of lock washers. That's what we're going to put into here, and that's really the only tricky part of the install, is getting that thing put in. And that goes through the top of the bracket and then holds the horn into place. So, with that said, I'll put the stuff aside and we'll get started on taking these pieces out. All right, forgot to mention tools that you're going to need. An adjustable wrench works great, or if you have a regular set of wrenches, that'll work fine too. 11 millimeter will fit this. We got a nut that we're going to need to snug down once we get this mounted into place, and we have lock washer on the back, so we won't have to worry about that. And then a pair of needle nose pliers is helpful. I think that really is all that's required probably for these things. Phillips screwdriver, number 2 Phillips, helps to get those loosened, and that should do it. So, okay, I'm going to get started. I'm going to start off first by attaching the bracket to the horn, and I'll move the camera and show you how I'm going to do that. Okay, so we're going to assemble the bracket onto the horn. The bracket is a large hole and a small hole, and then you're going to take your square head bolt and your nylon lock washer. And the way this works is square head goes into the slot. This goes into there, and then we're just going to tighten this down. And this won't rotate again because the square head bolt is locked by the slot here in the horn for the mounting. You want this to be straight up and down. So go ahead and get this tightened up. So again, before you tighten it all the way, straight up and down on the bracket piece. Just like that. Okay, and then another half turn is all you need. You don't have to get too crazy. Okay, So that's that. Then we supply this ground wire on the NA kit. The NBs, Cs, and Ds also have a power extension lead, but on the NA you don't need it. And so at the bottom of the horn, embossed into the plastic here on next to the terminals is a plus and minus. So just slide this right on to the negative terminal, like that. Okay, and you're ready to go. If you live in an area that has a lot of salt or moisture, I do recommend some dielectric grease onto these connectors and coating all around the wire. And in fact, if you've got the dielectric grease, put it all over the exposed body here. That'll keep it from rusting. We have little tiny packets of dielectric grease, which is more than enough for doing 5 of these jobs for like $2, I think, on our site on the accessories page. So if you need some of that, go ahead and include that with your order. So I'm going to move the camera back and we're going to start to take out the old horn. Okay, so we got on this little cover, and not every Miata has these covers on there. There's some aftermarket ones too. And then some of them, like the 95 we had as one of our cars, our test cars, didn't have any cover at all. But on some of them it was aluminum. But I think the fasteners were the same on most of them. These are a small threaded fastener that is threaded and pushes out the plastic underneath. And the tricky thing about these is, so it takes the bottom piece and flares it out. So the tricky part of this is you want to push the center pin or help the center pin up until you can grab it, and then you can pull up on it and then the whole piece will come out. So I'll see how I do on this one first. Got a fingernail under the edge of the center piece, so I can pull that out, and then this will just lift off like that. And I can show you what these actually look like. The little center piece of plastic just gets pushed apart as the center pin goes into it. So I'll go ahead and do these others, take that part off. All right, I got those out. Let's just ease this thing out. Let's see how this comes out of here best. Okay. So, I'm going to take the camera off the tripod here. We're going to do a close-up of the stock horn that we're going to be replacing. Okay, so here we go. Here's our job. This is the stock horn here. There's a single bolt. I think that's a 10 millimeter. I'm not sure, but I think it's a 10. That goes into a threaded connection there. We're going to take that out. There is a power lead here, which is green with a, I think it's a red stripe on it. And there's a tie down here for that. We may or may not, depending upon how much slack we need. It seems to be a little different in each year in terms of how much they put on. We may or may not need to lift that up and bring some more of the slack through to get to the bottom of our horn. And where we're going to mount the new horn is in this empty hole just to the side of the hood latch assembly. As long as this hasn't been taken apart in the past or moved, the bracket we supply goes right in there. And the bolt that we're going to put in needs to be slipped in from the back. And that's the tricky part of the whole install. And I'll set the camera up and show you how we're going to do that, because Miatas that have the air conditioner installed, that condenser is, or the evaporator is right, or the condenser, yeah, is right there. So it's a tight fit to get that in. So first thing is we'll go ahead and get this one off. All right, I got you zoomed in here. Let's get this old horn out. You can, if you can reach in the power lead, you can take that off first. It's a squeeze and pull to get that off. If you find it awkward, you can take the horn out first, lift it up, and then where you can get at it a little better, which is what I'm going to do. And obviously, if you have a socket, that would work for this. This is number 10. I guess you can repair just about anything in a Miata with a number 10, number 12, and a 15. Heard something like that? At any rate. You won't be reusing that bolt, but you can hang on to it. And on the connector, again, this is one of those, there's a small push that releases the latch mechanism on it, and then it just comes right off. So again, this is a fully reversible procedure. If you ever go to sell your car, you can put the stock horn back in, take the nice one out. And so you want to just hang on to this, go ahead and keep the bolt with it as well. So that's all set now. Our next step is going to be to get the bolt into this hole. Let me describe how we're going to do that. All right, what I got is, this is a high-strength bolt, 2 lock washers and a nut. We want that bolt to come in from the back, sticking out to the front like this. So how are we going to do that? Well, the way we're going to do that is, the trick is, I mean, you're kind of putting this up, if you sort of see yourself holding it with a couple of fingers and getting it up into position, there's a clear space above the air conditioning condenser that lets you get this straight, but getting it into position is hard. You can't reach it from that side. So an old trick for doing this that works really well is to get some masking tape, or you can get, this is painter's tape, but same thing. And we're going to make basically a little bit of a snake to help us get this into that hole. So just going to grab a section of it. We're going to take the bolt with one of the lock washers on it. We're going to put this in place like that, and we're going to make we're just going to fold it, tape in on itself, and basically we're going to make a little thread that we can sneak up from the back and then pull the bolt into position. So that's pretty good like that, I think. So let's see what we can do here. You probably will not get this the first time. That's perfectly okay. Just, be prepared to multiple times to go ahead and play with it until you can get it out of the hole. I've almost got it. There we go, just like that. Now, put the bolt up, try not to drop it. Okay. And we're almost there. Just like that, okay? Now, I made that look easy, I understand that, but I've done this probably 50 times. So what we have now, let me show you the horn. I'm going to take the horn and it's going to pick up that bolt through that hole, and then the lock washer, and then the nut to hold it in place. So, and it will clear the power steering cooler, which you'll see at the bottom there, and it'll end up facing forward, speaking right out the bumper like it should. So that will be step 2. So let me go ahead and get this tape off, and then we're going to also prepare with this. I got to see if this wire is going to be long enough. I think it is. I think the wire is going to be long enough with where it's mounted. So let me go ahead and do that. When you take the tape off, you just got to be careful about knocking the bolt out. You'll probably do that a couple of times. it'll just fall down onto the plastic under tray, and you can usually reach down and grab it from the back side here. So just be aware of that, because there won't be anything holding this in place once the tape comes off. Okay? Bring the horn up from the bottom. And actually, before I mount it, I'm going to go ahead and put the positive power connector on here. Okay. If the line from the dryer is in the way, you can just gently move it to the side. They usually aren't, but if it's been replaced or serviced, a different sized unit, you might have an issue with that. Okay, let's see how we're doing on our test fit here. It's looking pretty good. All right, I think we're about ready. So I'm going to take the tape off of here. Okay. And again, don't knock the bolt out. All right. Okay. Now I'm bringing up the ground wire from the bottom of the horn, and I just temporarily put that on there. I'm going to slip that ground wire underneath that bolt, and that'll give us our electrical ground for the system. So, all right. All right, and that's in place. Let me get the camera off the tripod, show you a little bit closer what we've done. Okay, so we have the horn bracket now right next to this frame. And in this case, it's touching because this is the support, the center support for the whole front assembly that covers over the latch. This one we had enough room for the wire to get down. It's still on its original mount. I did ease the dryer line over just a tiny bit, coming out of the air conditioner dryer assembly. I don't know if you can see it here, but just as these are put in, these lines are just hand formed, so that was just bulging out a tiny bit in the middle there. So the horn's in place now, and we could actually go ahead and yeah, let's go ahead and give it a test, see what it, oh, wait a minute, one more thing. Let's go ahead and get the fuse replaced. We supply a couple new fuses. Depending upon your model year, you might use the small fuse or the big fuse. In the first generation Miata, the fuse is going to be, there's two fuse boxes. There's a small one here in the engine bay, and then there's one up underneath the dash on the driver's side. That's where the horn brake fuse is going to be. I think it's the large one that we'll use, but I'll get the camera down there when we get the cover off of it, and I'll point it out to you. What we're going to do is we're going to replace the stock 15 amp fuse with these supplied 20 amp fuses. And the reason we do that is the fuse runs the brake lights and the horn. It's always live circuit. And the combination of the two, the Airhorn and the brakes, it's conceivable, although it's usually, I don't know if anybody's actually demonstrated it can happen, but when you add up the current load of the original incandescent stoplights and this Marco air horn, if you stood on the brakes, laid on the horn, and you held it for 15 or 20 seconds, you might blow the 15 amp fuse. So we're going to replace it with a 20. And the reason that that's safe to do that is because the horn relay in this vehicle is actually a 20 amp relay already. So there isn't a problem with doing that. In general, you have to be careful with changing fuse values, but it's actually okay with the Miata setup. So I'll get under the dash there, get the cover off of that little fuse box, and we'll find the horn fuse. All right, I'm underneath here. Let's see if you can see that. That's the little fuse panel that we're going to deal with, and we're looking for the horn. Okay, and I got labels right on the outside cover, and there's a 15 amp stop. See that one? That's the one we want. Let's go ahead and get this cover off. That's the one we're going to replace with the 20, and it's the small, no, it's large size. So let me go get the 20, and we'll get that put in. Yeah, there we go. Yellow is showing that we've got it installed. So, good deal. All right, all back together. Sorry for the lawnmower in the background. Cover's back on, and let's go ahead and give it a test. All right. Compare that to the original. People will get out of your way. Anyway, hope this has helped you guys. And any questions, you can leave them down below. We'll respond. Also, check out that link for Brandon Bishop on the car stereo repair and refurbishment. And get in touch with him. I'll leave his website down there for you as well with all the contact stuff. So, thanks again, and enjoy your Miata.